Sometimes I hear feeling in touch with fear. Freedom we all hold dear now is at stake. Humble your hearts to God, save from the chastening rod. Seek the way pilgrims trod, Christians away. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon. Many will meet their doom. Trumpets will sound, and all.
Thanks for joining us. Today's show is going to be a good show. It's going to be about you can make a difference. You that's sitting there watching this show, you can make a difference. And the reason I know you can, because we've got a guest here today that's making a difference and believes people can make a difference, and it is Lynda Jones. And I should say Ms. Lynda Jones or
Mrs.
Lynda Jones or
Yeah.
Mrs. I don't never get all that straight, never have figured it out yet. You've been here before.
I have.
You are an attorney,
I am.
practicing attorney.
Yep, 22 years.
22 years. How you do that being 24 years old?
Yeah, exactly. I started young.
You are. And your mother?
Yes, I am. I have a daughter. She just turned 10 last week.
Got a husband?
I do. He's a good man.
And he's real smart.
He is very smart, much smarter than me.
Well, I'm not going to comment on that one. We got a long way to go in this program. You believe in Nashville.
I do.
Because you believe in people.
I do.
And I won't say you're my friend because that might offend you, but you are an acquaintance of mine. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
You have, I want you to be my friend, but you hosted a Table.Conquerors Luncheon?
Yes.
That was a good event, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a great event.
It really is.
Really nice.
And you help a lot of organizations. You're a church-going person?
I am. We're members at West End United Methodist Church.
How long have you been there?
Oh, goodness, probably 16 years.
Really? Mm-hmm. So you just didn't drop in and you have a desire to be a judge.
I do. I would like to serve. We have Judge Evans is retiring. I'm going to be looking to run for her open seat. I would be very honored and privileged if the voters would elect me to serve alongside our already great judges. We have probably in all of Tennessee, we probably have the best court system Davidson County does, because I've appeared in a lot of different counties, and our Davidson County courts are really good courts.
I've been in a few of them on traffic violations, but I don't rate them so well outside of Nashville. We're not going there. Why do you want to be a judge? Now, you're an attorney.
I am an
attorney. You're a trial lawyer.
Yes, I also do paperwork outside of just trials. So I also have a bankruptcy practice, but I have a trial practice as well.
So you have two companies in, basically, that you work for.
Three practice areas.
Three practice areas.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of questions I'm supposed to ask you now, but I don't understand the whole judicial, is that the right phrase, system of judges in different courts.
Yes.
And I go down to the Birch building and I can't find where I'm supposed to be, and I'm scared I'm going to get incarcerated before I get out of there. How does the system set up? Give us a little civics lesson right quick.
Okay. So where most people go to court is similar to traffic court. That's called General Sessions Court, and traffic is part of the General Sessions system. And that's where if anybody's going to have an interaction with court, it's a 90% chance that that's where they're going to go. So General Sessions courts hear cases that are $25,000 in value on the civil side of things. So if someone gets sued for a medical bill or an unpaid debt, or their landlord wants to evict them, or anything like that that's civil in nature, they are heard by the General Sessions Court. Now, that's only half the jurisdiction of the courts. The other half...
That makes up half.
Half of General Sessions.
How many judges, do you know? Is that a fair question?
There are 11. There are 11 judges, yes. 2 are retiring. The other half of General Sessions Court is criminal in nature.
Now, where are you running for?
Well, General Sessions Court, half of the dockets that I would hear would preside over would be civil, half of the dockets would be criminal, and criminal meaning misdemeanors. The General Sessions Court only has the power to incarcerate someone for 11 months and 29 days. If someone, yes, and if someone is charged with a felony, they will come through the General Sessions Court system, but only for a preliminary hearing. The preliminary hearing is a device which enables lawyers to get what we call discovery, which is to ask questions, question the witnesses, and things of that nature to determine how strong the case is before it is bound over to the criminal court, which is a higher level court. The criminal court is at the circuit court level, and it has higher jurisdiction over the General Sessions Court. So if someone doesn't like a decision downstairs in General Sessions Court, they have an absolute right to appeal it to the circuit court, which is the next level up.
So anybody could. Are you incarcerated while you appealing it?
It depends on if you can afford the bond, if a bond is set, if it's a criminal court matter. Civil court, you don't have a necessarily, you have a small bond that's not a jail bond. You're not in jail on civil matters.
Okay, now say this to me one more time. General Session has 2 divisions.
Well, 11 divisions.
Oh, 11 divisions.
Yeah, 11 judges preside over 11 different divisions. But the cases they hear, half are civil, half are criminal.
Half for civil, half for... The drug dealer, get down in the world that I live in.
Okay.
A drug dealer, a street drug dealer, gets picked up, selling a little weed, not much stuff on him. He would go to General Sessions.
First.
Criminal.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Evicting a renter, if one of my people getting evicted, they would go General Sessions.
Civil.
Okay. All right. I didn't know that. Okay. Now, when you go on up to the criminal court, which one of these you going to be in? You trying to be elected to?
General Sessions.
You're going to be in General Sessions.
So half the cases I would hear would be civil, half the cases I would hear would be criminal. And I like that particular area because I have both criminal and civil law in my background. I've practiced in the civil courts, I've practiced in the criminal courts.
Now, I had a question. I'm also having having a senior moment here. Criminal, and those are under, the criminal cases would be, here's a question. I thought of this one yesterday when I realized you were going to be here today. Who determines where these folks go? Who determines whether I'd be in your court or the next judge down the line?
Well, there's a rotation. And so if certain individuals are arrested on a certain day, they fall into a particular judge's court, and there's a rotation.
So they don't look at the docket and say, let's plug this one in over here. If you're arrested, in other words, you'd handle everybody arrested on Tuesday.
Correct.
And say you're handling everybody arrested on the 14th, then another judge would handle everybody arrested on the 15th.
Correct.
And it goes around that. And how many judges are there in general?
There are 11 judges.
11 judges. So you're going to get roughly 3 days out of the month, you're handling the people that's arrested 3 days out. There's a lot of people getting in trouble, isn't it?
Yes. Sometimes the same people over and over again.
Most of the time, I would
Most
think.
of the time, yeah. You're right.
Most of the time.
Absolutely.
Now, when it goes to criminal, you won't be a criminal judge, so you could be overruled by a criminal judge.
I could be overruled by a criminal
Who
judge.
are some of the people that are criminal judge? Muriel Robinson?
No, she's retired.
She retired?
She's retired, yes.
I didn't know that. She was a good judge.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people who love her.
A lot of men in this town don't like her.
That is also true. But
I've never met her.
She's,
well, I have to. I
yeah.
did meet her one time.
Yeah, she's always been very wonderful to me. So.
Now she has a brother that's.
No, I believe it is a nephew.
Nephew. Now, is he? How many criminal judges do we have?
We have 6.
6. I don't know what this will mean. He passed away. Mickey Mouse judge.
Judge Rubin.
He did
pass
was just
away.
a kind fellow. Now, which court was he in?
He was, I believe, division. Oh, I don't remember his division number. It might have been 3 or 11. I don't remember. He was General Sessions, though.
General Sessions.
Yeah, he was General Sessions, and he's been replaced since he passed away. And I just had an opportunity to speak to his wife recently, and she seems to be doing okay.
He was precious. I had him on the show one day. Ed Gross got him to come and be on the show.
Great.
And man, he was fun to talk to. I really.
He served our community for 31 years, and I got a rare treat, rare privilege 2 summers ago through a club that I belong to. We got to present him with an award to thank him for all of his service for 31 years. He was on the bench 31 years.
He was Jewish by faith, and so he worked Christmas. So the other guys could get off and be with their families. And I just showed his real heart to me.
Yeah.
Now, give me a name. Give a couple of judges is in the criminal court.
At the higher court level?
Yes,
or
the higher court level.
Okay, at the higher court level, we have Judge Dozier, we have Judge Watkins, we have, I have to count them on my fingers here, we have Judge Blackburn, we have Judge Wyatt, we have Judge Norman, and we have Judge Fishburne.
That's good. Now, when you go to them, you got to have lawyers.
You better have a lawyer.
Yeah, you got to have lawyers.
Absolutely.
There. And these are people that's going to be getting 15, 20 years criminal?
Oftentimes, yes, depending on if it's an A felony, a B felony, or if they're a multiple offender. Even if they're charged with a lower classification of felony that's only punishable by jail of a year or two, if they have multiple offenses, it could throw them up into a higher category and they could serve more time.
Habitual criminal type thing.
Yes.
Do they have juries? All of them have all
Yes.
juries?
Yes. They
All
have
of their
juries.
trials are jury trial?
Well, unless the lawyer opts for a bench trial. A lawyer
Okay.
may say that they want to have a bench trial instead of a jury trial. If you have a particularly complex legal issue, you may want to just present it to the judge. And when we have some phenomenal judges, our judges are all very schooled and very learned. You know, they've been serving for a long time. So a lawyer might make a tactical strategy decision to say, I just want to be in front of the judge.
Juries can really get confused, can't they?
They can.
Good system. I like it. But boy, best thing to do is not get arrested, stay out of trouble.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do.
That's the best thing
Yeah.
to do. Now, once you leave that court, what's the next level?
If you do not like a decision of the criminal court, you would have your lawyer appeal to the Court of Appeals. We have a court.
Okay.
We have a Court of Civil Appeals, Court of Criminal Appeals.
Is that in Davidson County now, or is that getting on up into
That's the state
southeastern
level.
state level?
Yeah, but for the state of Tennessee,
Okay.
and that's on the state side of things. Now we also have a federal system, and that would be a little bit different. So you go from Court of Appeals to State Supreme Court if you're in the state system. If you're charged with a federal crime, you start at federal district court, then you would go to the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, and then
That's in
ultimately,
Cincinnati.
yes,
Okay.
and then ultimately the U.S. Supreme Court.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you for that lesson. That's great. Qualifies you to be judge, doesn't it? Why do you want to be a judge?
I would like to serve the community. I've been working.
Now, you mean that?
Yes, I do. I
Because
do.
your life demonstrates that.
Yeah, I think so. I feel very blessed, very fortunate. Even though my family did not have a lot of wealth or formal education, I feel very fortunate that I got to go to college and I got to attend law school. But because of the clients I've been representing for years, I've represented a lot of lower income folks and a lot of just plain old poor folks. And I see the disadvantages that being poor gives you in our society. And I feel like the system needs to be
Huge
fair.
disadvantage.
Yeah.
A huge disadvantage.
Yeah. I think money shouldn't matter when you go to court. The court should be blind as to your position, and you need to look at the facts, you need to look at the evidence, you need to look at everything. And everybody should get a fair shake, no matter how much money they have, no matter what the color of their skin is, no matter what the religion is. I think everybody needs to be treated absolutely equally in the court system.
And we see that, my struggle with the court system, and I love America. People say I'm not patriotic enough, but I'm patriotic enough to suit me. But I love America, and I love Nashville. I love living in Nashville because I think, I'll say all the time, that may happen, that may be the best they can do in other cities, but Nashville can do better. When I'm talking about children of parents that are incarcerated, those children, I think 78 or 83% of those children are going to be incarcerated. That may have to happen somewhere else. That doesn't have to happen in Nashville. There's enough workforce in Nashville to help step in and help families that's in trouble.
What I found by talking to nonprofits in the area,
And you know a lot of nonprofits.
I do.
You help everybody.
I try, and I feel like they're all saying, let us come to the courts, let us help give some extra support. If you have someone who doesn't have a job, let us give him job training. If you have someone who doesn't have a GED, let us give him GED training. And the nonprofits would love to come and just dig right in and help and take direct referrals and try to get people where they need to be. This community of Nashville really has a giving nature. People want to help each other. They're very neighborly. I mean, we saw it during the floods. And people people have big hearts, and they really do want they feel like me. They want everybody to have a good life and have a chance, have an equal opportunity to pursue their dreams or to pursue their education or just get a job to take care of their family. So, we live in an awesome city.
If they've got an addiction, incarceration is not going to solve their problem. It's going to cost us a whole lot of money. We need to be addressing, Darren Hall talks about this all the time, we need to be finding out what the addiction is and then get to work on fixing the addiction before we get tied up with may have to incarcerate. Not saying turn everybody loose and let them go and feel sorry for them, pity party, but address the issue of what the addiction is.
Absolutely.
And give them the work they should have gotten growing up that they didn't get, or they did get and didn't practice it. Help them get over that hump.
Well, what I've found in my 22 years of practice, I've represented a lot of veterans who've come back after they've been deployed, because Clarksville's right up the road.
Right.
And about 40% of those men and women have an alcohol substance abuse issue. About 15% of the people who come through our courts at General Sessions have a diagnosed mental illness. Now, I don't know how many are undiagnosed that come through the system, but when we unlocked all the mental health hospitals, which had a lot of good to it, we also kind of unleashed a torrent of people who have no support system, no family to make sure they're taking their medicine every day. And so we have a huge number of people in our jails who are just, mentally ill with no one who gave them their medicine, and they ended up spiraling downward, and now they're sitting in jail because...
That was a Reagan decision. I'm a Reagan man. I loved Reagan. I really respected him. He was stuck on dumb that day. I don't know why they did that. That obviously didn't grasp his advisors. Somebody didn't grasp the situation.
Well, there's some people who, with medicine and counseling and structure, who have a different mental illness, who function very well in society. I have represented a number of people who are bipolar and have depression. Some have things as mild as just an antisocial disorder, and they function if they have structure and support around them. I think, and there are even some functional schizophrenics. I think they have a more difficult battle.
Now, these are people hearing voices.
Yes, they have a much more
That's
difficult.
serious stuff like
it's
that.
very serious. But there, are people who have situational depression. So there are different levels because of the chemicals in the brain. And I think more education is needed in the area of mental health, and we need more understanding. And I don't like the stigma that is surrounding that. The soldiers I've represented, for example, they come back with post-traumatic stress disorder, and that is something that can be helped. And I just want there to be more education out there about that.
I had a Dr. Lowry from Lipscomb on the program, and he does his conflict resolution stuff. And when you say education, he has so much information. I wish the city of Nashville, I wish there was a way to get him in Allen Arena and let people just come and let him just talk, not delegated off to somebody else, but Lowry himself just come and talk about how the brain works and how forgiveness takes place, what has to happen to have forgiveness and trust and those factors. It was mind-boggling to me, but it was so helpful, because in things like relationship breakups, I'd always, y'all pray, get back together, and he said, the brain is built in such a way, and I hope I'm not messing up what he said, that if trust is not established, there'll be no forgiveness. And, so here I'm trying to get people good, and she don't trust him. There's no reason for her to trust him. He's not produced any fruits of trust whatsoever. So now I don't try to put them back together. I tell him, hey, brother, you better get out and start all over. And if you want this relationship to go, you're going to have to act like you want this relationship to go.
It'd be really interesting to hear what he says about restorative justice, because there is a movement in the country that's just burgeoning and starting in different courts around the country to have restorative justice, where there is a forgiveness and a reconciliation. And I'd be curious to hear, because of the brain chemistry, what does he think? Is that possible?
That would be good. That would be good to have his input on that. When I'm big on, whether I'm right or wrong, at least on some cases, I want them out of jail. Unless they're going around killing people, lock them up. We can't do anything about that. It's hard to fix stupid, But so many of my folks, they need to be on paper. They need a long probation, but I'm infuriated with them getting violated. If a guy's got a ticket, if he's on paper because he doesn't have a driver's license, now they're going to send him to jail because he won't show up to work, he can't drive to work, and he won't come and pay his fine because he has to drive illegally to come and pay that whole system needs to be revamped, the probation system. But people do need to be on paper, so that if they fail, it's sort of like it's broke down in the home. It's a breakdown of the home. Results, I hope I'm making sense. It's the results of a breakdown in the home. Parents can set boundaries on children. And we have some people that are 24, 25-year-old going on 14-year-old, they need somebody to set boundaries, help them set boundaries, and paper does. I've got one old boy, and he just, boy, bless his heart, boy, this kid's good. This kid's got a future if he don't continue to mess it up, and he's messing it up right now. But he just smokes. I mean, he just stays on grass all the time, you know. He came to church the other day, and which was, he don't come very often, but he came the other day, and he was alert. He was off the grass, and some of the kids that was on grass said something to him about it, and he said, hey, no. He said, man, I'm on paper. And so by him being on probation, he didn't want to go to prison. He didn't want to go to jail. And by him being on paper, he started to got him a job. And that can be a success story.
That's great.
And all he needs a lot of encouragement. He told me one day, I said something about, you know, I haven't met your father. He said, I haven't either. I don't know who he is. And so he's got a lot of issues in his life, but he comes from a good grandmother who just is good as gold. And I'm proud we're involved with him to help guide him in a decision-making process. But I think if we could get a court system set up to where we could really monitor the people without them, I'm just not a fan, and I don't know how to do it, of them having to go and pay the probation officer, and if that probation officer gets mad, they incarcerate them. That just sets me off.
I can understand that.
And another thing that infuriates me is when you start working with somebody and they start doing good, and you've got 6 months of good, improved behavior, and the court is totally just oblivious to that behavior of the improvement. And they're judging on something happened 2 years ago, and not wake up and smell the coffee. Hey, we got a person really trying to do something here. Stick him on probation, monitor him, and see if he can.
Well, in that instance, what I would recommend is if someone has been working with that young man in the community and he finds himself served with a probation violation, the person who's been working the closest with him, if they can come to court and be willing to testify in front of the judge as to all the good that's been going on, I think it's important for the court to know that the young man has had a job in making these improvements and showing the changes, because he might not be able to articulate that himself. And if someone has been a mentor or a peer to him, that would be very helpful. The Men of Valor program often connects people. Yes. And so there are other groups like that, and I would recommend bringing someone to court and to be there and let them know, because if the judge has the whole story, the judge may make a different decision. But if the judge only has, you know, someone who's not very articulate and a probation officer who's angry and they haven't fully communicated, that may be why the judge is doing what they're doing.
Well, our people have been there. And judges blow our people off because you've got an angry girlfriend from X amount of years ago that's already been caught in 15 lies in the first 5 minutes getting in the courtroom. You can tell when she's lying or she's talking. And then an angry probation. And it's just doomed. Now, what I understood from what you told me a while ago, the mistake we made, we should have requested a higher court.
Well, you may have that option in those situations, yes. Yes, that would be a good idea.
Got people I mean, it's too hard to get people to start making good decisions, because you can see, they'll promise you this, and they'll put up a front, you know. I'm not about going to church. I'm talking about change behavior in making decisions, paying their bills on time. If it's just a cell phone, they're paying that bill on time. Their language is changing. They are and here's a key to watch where they're really making progress, not who they're running around with.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a huge difference. If they've
left the old friends and they're seeking new friends, the anger goes away. That child needs a change. That person needs a chance. They need to be applauded and not drugged down by bad relationship and bad decision making of years gone by. We don't have but 4 minutes, Judge. It sure has been good. You're not judge yet, but you're going to get to be judge. That's what you're hoping to. Tell me something that you need to talk about today. You want to talk about the city of Nashville. You're going to have to come back. We didn't talk about the city of Nashville. We didn't talk about all the nonprofits you was involved in.
Yeah. I would love to come back and talk about Morning Star Sanctuary for Domestic Violence and the Neighborhood Compassion Center.
Boy, that's a good program.
Yeah. Nashville OIC that provides job training, Project Return, which helps provide job training. We have a lot.
Send people there. Yeah.
And we just have so many good organizations in Nashville that want to reach out and help others and lift them up and help them change their circumstance.
Let's do this. You type up a list of like Men of Valor, all these nonprofits, and put Nashville Inner City Ministry at the top of the list.
Okay. All right.
And make that in caps so I can see it sitting up here. And I want you to come back and let's talk about how you see those organizations, what they can do, because And we'll tell parents at home, people that's watching, get them a note tablet, something to write down on. Don't get an envelope. Get something you can put on the refrigerator, and have the contact information. And we'll go through those things and let people, because then they can start calling those organizations. Because like somebody's incarcerated, they can call the Church of Christ Prison Ministry with those Snow, or you can call Men of Valor and make contact with people. And because I worry about that grandmother that's got a grandchild that's incarcerated and she's nervous wreck. And it's sad when you have a mother tell me, my son's in prison and I feel better because I now know he's safe. And so there's a lot of training that needs to be done, and we can do that in Nashville, Tennessee. And but if you'll do that, we'll get you to come back on here and be a guest,
I'd be happy
and
to.
we'll go through that.
And I will put Nashville Inner City Ministry at the top of the list because I know what good work they do.
Wearing that one out, man. All I got to do is raise about $6-7 million and I'd be in good shape. If you could, we got 2 minutes to go. What's a message to a mother out there from your lawyer standpoint and from your heart as a caring citizen for Nashville? Talk to that mother for 1 minute and 22 seconds.
Please know who your child is friends with. Know who your child is hanging out with on the weekends. Know their first name, know their last name, know their families, know where they work. Try to know as much about your child as possible, because if you don't know who their friends are, you don't know what influences that are happening to your child. And the children that I see that get in trouble again and again, the moms are just very busy working, and from 3 to 6 p.m. they don't get home. They don't know who their son is running around with, and that's where all the bad influences come in. If you can have something for your child to do from 3 to 6 p.m. in the evenings that will keep them out of trouble and keep them engaged mentally, where they're not bored and they're not just picking up any influence that's out on the street, then you will go a long way into keeping your child from being at the wrong place at the wrong time, being influenced by someone with a strong personality. There are so many ways that, and I honestly don't think a child is an adult until age 25. I may be a little old-fashioned in that respect.
29.
Yeah, and so
seconds.
anyway, if you can do that, you will have a happier, successful, not arrested child.
And I'd add to that is who their present friends are now, not 6 months ago.
Yes.
Because those changes daily, and so you get to know who they are real quick. That's good. That's good, Lynda. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you being here, and good luck for your run.
Thank you.
And we're proud of you, proud to have you as an acquaintance and a friend, and we're looking forward to working with you, and we want you to come back. And we need more people like you in Nashville, Tennessee, making a difference in our city.
Thank you,
Thanks
Idol.
for tuning in, folks.
I hear feeling in hearts with fear. Freedom we all hold dear now is at stake. Humble your hearts to God, save from the chastening wrong. Seek the way pilgrims trod, Christians away. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon. Many will meet their doom. Trumpets will sound, and all of the dead shall rise. Righteous me in the skies. I'm going where no one dies, heavenward bound. What troubles will soon be, or happy forevermore. When we meet on that shore, free from all care. Rising up in the skies, telling this world goodbye.